Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Gray Area here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network, simulcasting on the Sparta HQ Network. I am Mr. Bennett, the 7B president, joined by my partner, as always,
This is Sparta!
the ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka Paniotis. Yasu, my brother, what's going on?
What is going on? That never gets old. I don't care how many times I hit that button. That never get old.
I know. I mean, so much going on, but we appreciate certainly you guys being with us tonight. Certainly, as you enter the show, make sure that you thank you for the new. You guys liking the new spectacles that I put in. I made a decision a few months ago as I was renewing my prescription. I wanted a bold look because I'm seeing that's in vogue now. Like used to wear like a lot of minimalistic eye frames. I used to wear a lot of frames were rimless. And I just decided, at this stage, I wanted something more pronounced, something more bold. Almost give me like sort of like a brainiac look. I look like the guy, the brain from what was that? No, who's the guy from the Thunderbirds? Remember if you ever watched the Thunderbirds,
oh yeah, I don't remember his name. I know you talking
the brain guy from the Thunderbirds, so it kind of gives me that kind of look. So I certainly
I've been always a fan of rimless. I like. They're too heavy in my face. I don't like that's I never liked.
Yeah, it certainly gets some used to. Taking some getting used to the boldness and the size of it. But plus, I'm also I kind of like the almost like the Clark Kent of it. Like Clark Kent always wore those kind of big frames, kind of hide his identity or whatnot. So it kind of just shows another side of my personality. Black Man Unfiltered talking about that. I look like an exotic dancer. I don't see how that is. Won't just on cover Appreciate that. I've retired from dancing and I've gone up in the world. So I guess that's kind of where I'm at this point. But for everyone joining the show,
play a song for you to start dancing.
No, we don't need to do that now. No, not yet. But make sure as you guys come in tonight, make sure you hit the like button. Certainly consider subscribing to the Black Man Unfiltered Network and the Sparta HQ Network. We're very close to getting monetization on the Sparta HQ Network. So make sure you go over there and show some love on that as well. And certainly as you come in tonight, make sure you consider dropping a Cash App or a Super Chat to the Black Man Unfiltered Network. Thank you certainly for the folks last week who dropped Super Chats to us. We really appreciate that. And certainly anything that you may have for us personally. We'd appreciate anything that goes to our personal Cash Apps, mine and Pete. So again, we appreciate the support tonight as we certainly come into the show. Going to be talking about music tonight, but I just want to give a special shout out tonight. So just about an hour ago, I just found out that a family friend of mine. So I moved into a community back in 1984, and this was after my family kind of was split up, and it kind of got put together with my brother and my father. And so we kind of moved into Highland Park, New Jersey, and there was this a friend of my sister's. Who had a place, and she was actually the one who was instrumental in pulling me out of where I was with my mom and all that kind of stuff, and getting my father out of his stupor, and getting kind of us into a more stable environment. So she had a friend of hers that she worked with in Highland Park. She had an apartment, and she was willing to let us rent in that apartment, and it was pretty instrumental at the time. This was back in 1984. And needless to say, we weren't necessarily well received there in 1984. Didn't find out about a lot of that until years later. But she went through a lot of stuff, allowing us, because we were probably the first Black family, certainly on that block. And so, that was a lot of consternation there. But she really stuck up for us, and she made sure that, we had a place to finally get stable, because I was kind of, spiraling, with grades. I started to not care about certain things in life and whatnot. So just having that grounding really helped me to, to reestablish myself. And they just embraced us. I mean, they took us on. Family had a house in the Poconos they used to take us to all the time. They had a boat that they would take us on. My first live wrestling event was through them. We went to Madison Square Garden, and we saw Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper actually team up. I think it was against Paul Orndorff, and I forget the other guy they were fighting. But me and my guy Eric, who lived down the street from us, that's how I met Eric, essentially being there. So again, a lot of lifelong connections. And we went to our first wrestling match together at Madison Square Garden for WWF at the time. So again, a lot of memories. And then we kind of, just going on with life, we kind of lost touch, and we connected a few years ago. His stepdad passed. But because the funeral was in Highland Park, was so close to the house, I had to go, and it was like we never left. I mean, it was definitely very emotional, just reconnecting. And the thing about it, his mom wasn't well enough to travel at the time, but they had her on video call. And basically, I was able to basically express my gratitude to them for what she did for my family back in that time. And and just even just adding to this, his mom lost he lost an older brother years earlier, and I was there that day. I remember going into there because they lived downstairs from us and embracing her. Just devastated at the loss of her oldest son. Nobody wants to do that, and now she has to bury her younger son. So again, nobody should have to deal with that. So just my prayers are just with, first of all, his wife and his two daughters. His name is also Paul, and so his wife and his two daughters, his sister, his surviving brother, and of course his mom. First of all, to thank them for everything they did for us, and that they find peace and solace during this difficult time. So I just wanted to shout him out. Paul from Holland Park. Won't give all his details out there, but in due time, as things come out, reveal a little bit more. But just again, hearts with the family tonight. But again, show must go on. Appreciate folks coming in. Thank you. Certainly lost the translation. Coming in tonight. Appreciate you being here, my brother. And always Mariana Constantine. Always a pleasure to join, share the stage with her the other night. So always a pleasure and just appreciate the support that she always gives us in this space. So, but with that, we're going to be talking about music tonight. And again, I guess the evolution, how music has changed over the years. Now, again, in this, I say this ahead of time, that, certainly for two of us, just based on the eras that we grew up in, we may have different musical tastes, and we may sound like old fogies, and all the young people are talking about, oh, you guys always like to talk about the past and whatnot. So again, we may come off that way, but we want to have a balanced conversation. Yes, music is definitely a lost translations thing. He's got that velvety voice too. He could certainly be a DJ. he could definitely be on a Quiet Storm, and he could certainly be doing this thing on that platform. So we're going to talk about this tonight. But Pete, I know you want to have a certain focus and emphasis tonight, and so why don't you certainly lead the sort of lead the conversation and kind of set the stage for the first part of the show. And so I'll give it to you, sir.
So originally, the plan of it was a while back. I was playing music at work, and I try to keep it as clean as possible, and that's kind of hard with today's music sometimes. So to avoid curses or racial slurs or even sex things, anything like that, I usually play a lot of Greek music, and people start making fun of it, and that made me think. Every music has a foundation. We might disagree where it originally came from, all of this stuff, whatever. I don't care about that. But what I do care about is how did music evolve over the years. And as I'm thinking about the show last night, I was invited to see one of my buddies last night. One of my buddies is DJ, a local DJ in an area. So he hits me up. He has a lot of weddings, but he hit me up like, yo, I'm DJing at a club tomorrow. I mean, a bar. Like, oh, bet I'm gonna be. I'll see you there then. After the hangout ended, I literally, that's why even if you remember, I was in my polo and all dressed up. So I went down to the bar. I had a few drinks with the guy. I actually felt like a VIP. I'll be honest with you, Paul, because I was literally hanging out on the DJ booth with him. Right. So this guy is on point. DJ Frank is on point, and it made me think. And like he's playing different eras and all like that. People are coming up and asking requests. And I was trying to help the guy out a little bit, and they're telling me, "Oh, can he play this?" And some of them are playing some old school music, and these are like kids from college stuff. Like, wow, I'm like, you guys listen to this? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, okay, and it made me think more about the show. Like, how did the music change over the years? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm more into that old school. 80s, Now
rock. Again, when we say old school, what era we talking? Because people say old school, you think talking about the 1920s, not the 1980s.
Listen, so I don't listen what you listen to. We already agree that you listen to 1700 stuff. I don't listen to
Yeah. I go back to the violin and the violin days, I guess.
Yeah, I like even like the 80s rock. I love the 80s rock. Mm-hmm. I think that's the peak of rock music.
Yeah.
That's where before heavy metal came out. But you have a lot of good music back then.
Mm-hmm.
You have DMC, Tricky.
So, yeah, Run DMC.
Yeah, Tricky. Then you have but from Bon Jovi, I Can't Love a Bad Name, and there's only two for example. There's so many examples we can give.
Yeah.
But music has evolved to the point. Some musicians don't even make their own music. They just sing it. Well, you consider that music now these days? That's the question is right now.
You talking about like what? As far as you talking about a cappella, or are you talking about people who just sample someone else's music and not necessarily making their own?
They have somebody else in the background making the music, writing it for them, and they're just the voice of it.
Well, I think that's always been around. I mean, certainly, music writers and writing teams have been around, as long as I can, sort of remember. And if you go back to even like 30s and 40s, you've always had musical composers. In fact, awards were given for composers, and they would say, the winner of this award, the artist is this, composers are this and that. And a lot of times when on the award shows, they would all go up together on stage and talk about, you got the musical arranger, you have your musicians, So I think it's always been somewhat of a collaborative effort in terms of people making music for the artist or for the singer. So I don't know if that's necessarily any different.
And that's the argument I've been going in for the last several years. Like I use like 90s music back in the day, and like Britney Spears, for example, she never wrote her own music. Somebody else wrote the lyrics for her and picked she was the voice of it. And it doesn't make her less of an artist or better the artist. Backstreet Boys did the same thing, NSYNC did the same thing, and so on and so on. I don't think they're any less of an artist because they're not creating it from scratch. Like, let's say Metallica, for example, who makes everything from scratch by themselves. So that's the difference. So what's your opinion on that, Paul?
Well, like I said, I think it's always been there. I think you've had, for a time, I would always make a distinction. Now, I don't know if you can do it as much now, but I always saw a distinction between a musician and a singer, or a composer and a singer. I've always looked at those as separate because, again, a lot of what they were looking for was the voice for whatever that they were composing. And again, especially back in the day, you had to be able to be a singer. Like, some of the greatest singers I've ever heard was like Shirley Bassey, who did a lot of those James Bond tracks back in the day, Diamonds and Forever, or, Aretha Franklin. You had to have some bells. Even Whitney Houston, when she was discovered and whatnot and signed up with Clive Davis and whatnot. She obviously didn't write a lot of the music that was there, but certainly she put, certainly a track on the music that was being composed. And so I've always looked at those as sort of two separate entities. Just, sometimes you have the great music, but, what voice is going to amplify that music that you're creating, or vice versa? Can the artist, the singer, we used to call them crooners, we used to call them songstresses, and, those type of people, where you were basically judged on how you could sing without music.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned, where you're talking about a cappella, because a cappella, if you can sing with no music, then imagine what you can do when the right music fuses together with your vocal talent.
So one of our favorite movies, Star Wars, John Williams, he's known as one of the most incredible composers. Thank you. I can't pronounce that goddamn word. Composer of our generation, and I agree with that because his music is incredible. He hasn't only done Star Wars; he's done other movies too.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, Superman, Star Wars.
Exactly, and so on. I think he did Star Trek too. I'm not mistaken.
No, he did not. He did not.
He did not. All right. It sounds like it's his work, but anyway, the point is, he is very good. Too fucking good, some people say. That's why he has so many awards. If you go down to his list. Actually, let me find it because I know I have it somewhere in my notes here. Of course, I can't find my notes when I need them. Always happens like that, doesn't it? Right, dude?
Yeah.
When you're looking for your notes, you can't find them.
Right.
All right, here it is. He has Grammys. He has a Biff Award, the FL Life Award, more Grammys, Primary Award. This guy has such a list of awards. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
It's almost like 3 pages worth of awards. So that tells you how good he is.
Yeah.
He's incredible good. So
yeah, for sure.
I consider that music. Do you?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, music doesn't have to necessarily be sung either. It's, again, certainly since he's known a lot for his movie soundtracks, again, the heart of the movie is oftentimes the soundtrack. I mean, what would Jaws and Superman and Star Wars and these movies be if could you imagine another composer in those titles and in those platforms? So absolutely, you have, again, your different branches of music. It's not just, pop or popular music. There's music, there's, classical music. There's, the symphonies, which a lot of the John Williams tracks is based on.
As one of my brothers, a lot of people are of different color. I hate to use that goddamn word. You know how I feel about that. Would love rap. Today's rap, do you consider that more as music or like garbage? Because
again, I'm gonna have my biases, based on the generation that I grew up in. I guess I grew up at at the birth of rap and whatnot. And again, it has changed, just like music has changed over the years. Starting out, I mean, even today, my very ringtone is Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, The Message. So those first few bars of that track is my ringtone. So I go back to, like I said, some of the earliest stages with it, but it's always, rap kind of came out of the disco era. So if you listen to a lot of those early songs, Apache and those and those tracks, you're coming out of the disco era of the mid to late 70s. Rap kind of takes off in like 79 and 80. It has a lot of social content, but again, even then, they're talking about a lot of themes that you'll hear in today's rap. They talk about making money and being the best and having the most women and things of that nature. I mean, if you look at listen to Rapper's Delight, it certainly has those elements in it. Then it went through sort of a conscious era, certainly in the late 80s, early 90s, when you had Boogie Down Productions and a lot of the X-Clan and Public Enemy, and you had those guys. Let me ask you this question
now.
Yeah.
If you had do you know the top rap songs ever made? I have the list.
I don't have the list. I would hope The Message is amongst them.
That's number one, actually.
That's number one. Yeah, because that
second place is Rap Daily. Third is Shock One, Part 2.
Shook Ones, Part 1.
Yeah, 3. 4 is Juice.
Yep.
5 is New York State of Mind, and 6, and I'm kind of surprised it's so low on the list, is California Love. Only reason I'm saying that it's low on the list, personal opinion, is because anytime I step in a bar, I step into a club, I step into anywhere like it has popping music, California Love is always on somebody's playlist, always.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with Lost here. Yeah, definitely the business aspect in terms of what sells versus the creativity, but also I think rap also spoke to, again, the time and the era. Like why Rapper's Delight is I think is so timely is one, the beat and the music and that reverb that they put in at the beginning and throughout the song is just like classic. I mean, you never get tired of that. The song is known by that, but also what it talked to. It talked about real things. I think the difference between what tracks like that did versus even the gangster rap that came later was is that, again, there's one thing to talk about the reality of your situation, in poetic form, if you will. I mean, poets have done that for years, talking about, the crime and the poverty and the lawlessness and things like that, just the living in the ghetto kind of. That's always been part of, street poetry, and just poets over time have talked about eras of when things aren't good. It's another thing when you start to kind of glorify that lifestyle. And I think certainly that's where I think a lot of the rap went, where you had people who, just like that line from that movie 8 Mile, which I loved, where the guy's talking about, you're not a gangster, your real name is Clarence. A lot of guys who are not even from that life or could relate to that lifestyle, yet because of money or because it's profitable, you want to rap about things that isn't really your life.
And so that's the part that bothers me personally. Mm-hmm. If you're not in that lifestyle, the street style,
mm-hmm.
you have no business talking about it, because you don't know what people go through. That's why I always was a big fan of music that people made, that they have a story behind it, that they love it. They've been through something. It's like you feel the pain in the song.
Yeah.
Like sure. Drake is one of those people that I don't think he knows what the fuck he's saying sometimes. He has a popular song, but
mm-hmm.
I'm surprised he's on the top list of rap artists, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But people forget where he started. He didn't start rapping. He started on a Degrassi that promoted having sex as a kid. Simple as that. Let's be straight up here.
Yeah.
But like Eminem, I will give him credit. He's been through shit when he was younger.
Yeah.
A lot of shit.
Yeah.
And like Lil Wayne, we know his story. He's been public. He didn't shot when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And like he shot himself, but that's the same story. But he threw his stuff. Like 50 Cent. Everybody knows his story. That's why he still looks at scars with his mouth to this day. That's why he does the lips. But these guys have scars. They have a reason to sing about the scars.
Right.
But when you have a silver spoon in your mouth like Drake, you don't have no room to fucking talk. You're a punk ass bitch. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people don't necessarily, recognize, I guess, that nuance or even care about that, because that used to be a thing. Like, back, if you weren't of that life, again, even the rappers would kind of check you on, like, how can you even speak to this, because you didn't come out of that. So you were actually clowned for guys now, but also you had the reverse of it as well, right? If you didn't come for that, or if you went, let's say if you were hardcore, like MC Hammer, right? Now, again, he was pretty hardcore, from Oakland. I mean, the guy is no, he's no punk. But nevertheless, though, there was a sort of a pop track that he came on. He became known, for that Hammer Don't Hurt Him album. And he went pop. He was kind of clowned for that, from leaving the hardcore to go to the mainstream. So I don't know what's worse. If you're hardcore, if you come from that background and you just, kind of quote unquote sell out for the pop track, or you don't come from that background, but you try to play off like you're hardcore. I don't know what's worse, but either way, I think people in general, they still want authenticity. They, can kind of feel where an artist is coming from, more so than you trying to create an image of somebody who that's not who you are. Because even when Hammer, I guess when his pop fame went, he tried to go back to his more Oakland roots, so to speak, and it seemed like I don't know if he was necessarily as effective when he tried to go back to his more hardcore style that he was known for before he had an opportunity to go mainstream. So
Listen,
again,
I can't sit here and argue that which genre is better, rap, rock, whatever. It's what you like. But right now the topic is rap, and we're moving to something in a minute. So the thing with the different genres of rap, every genre is a little different at times. Think about it. You had the 90s rap that was different. I remember one of the two popular songs is, I gotta say, I'm too sexy for myself. You could not go anywhere in the 90s hearing that song.
I'm too sexy for my shirt. Too sexy for my shirt. So sexy.
It's kind of creepy how you sound just like him, actually.
That's one of those guilty pleasure songs. It's like, in fact, I was it came on the radio this morning when I was going to church, and I just played a little bit of it. That's one of those guilty pleasure songs that it's like Ice Ice Baby, which I think a lot of people love. Now I would say Ice Ice Baby
Which
as
version?
much as people want to clown it and say that they don't that they can't stand Vanilla Ice, nevertheless, I just got a feeling that more people are bobbing into their song. They won't tell people that they like that song, but certainly that's another guilty pleasure song that I loved Ice Ice Baby back in the day. And yes, I know they ripped it off from Queen's Under Pressure from Queen and all that kind of stuff. Yes, I realize all of that. I realize he was kind of a made figure, but it's still in my playlist. So I don't.
If you like
I
it,
said, that's one I don't care. You know,
I am not gonna judge what you like. The only question I got: which version you talking about? Are you talking about the original version or the remake?
No, the original. The original
heard-
set to Queen. So again, if you look at Queen's Under Pressure, right? So they took that and then they kind of mixed it a little bit. But yeah, that's definitely from Queen. In fact, they had to pay a lot of money to Queen. For that song went like number one. I think it sold like 15 million copies. I mean, some crazy number of copies or whatever. So Queen definitely got paid from that from that track or whatever. So definitely, but I think that is definitely. I don't care what happens. I will definitely that will always be in my playlist, regardless of what the haters say about it. But yeah, I think it's a dope track.
Because he has two versions. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, he has the rock sort of version of it. Never liked it. Yeah, he went through so many transformations after that. I think he kind of fell off and whatnot. Now I hear like he's a successful realtor now, and he builds properties and stuff.
I'll give you a better example. Kid Rock. People who listen to Kid Rock, they think, oh, he's a rock music guy. Completely wrong. When he first started, and people don't know this, he was a big rapster. Excuse me. He was really into the rap music at one point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think he started out that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He started out, but then he kind of merged not only rock, but I think he did a little country as well. He was kind of able to get that kind of fusion between them. So yeah, so
he went from rap to rock, and then he went to rap mixed with rock. I wasn't a big fan of his music, to be honest. But then he went hardcore into country. I'm like, whoa. You took a 360, my man, a huge 360 on us on that one.
Yeah, well, I think everything's crossing, because if you look at country now, how many rappers are on country tracks right now? So again, I think there's I think the one thing that's happening with today's music, I don't know if it's hard to define what a music genre is. I mean, if you look at country music from like the Tammy Wynette and Dolly Parton era and all those country artists that used to be on here. I'm aging myself here. There used to be a show that used to come on called Hee Haw, and I used to but it was all country western acts and whatnot. But I used to watch that show every Saturday night before Sonny and Cher. You had Hee Haw, so there was like a whole lineup that came on Saturday nights, and so I watched that show as well. So definitely, country music has come a long way from its somewhat hillbilly roots. It's definitely infused a lot of rock elements into it, and now even a lot of rap elements certainly into it. So certainly it's not your father's or your grandfather's, certainly your great grandfather's country music anymore. It is much more crossover in those genres, and there's a lot more collaboration with artists. So I definitely think that I think that evolution of people not being so limited in terms of their reach. They're always looking for collaborations to bring audiences together.
This is one artist I came across. His name is James Wayne. So his music is rap country. And it's a unique, I have to say that twice, sound to his. And it's not a bad sound, it's just unique. You know what I'm saying?
No, but you bring up a very good point, though, because and I think it's been also said in the track in the comments here. Again, nothing here is from 40 years from now. But again, if you go back 60 years, right? I'll say even 70 years, right? Actually, no. Let's go all the way back, right? I mean, you had all these decades had a sound that was defined in the decade. So you had in the 20s, you had the Charleston, for example. In the 30s, you had like the Jigaboo and that kind. Then you had the boogie woogie music of the 40s. Then you had the 50s with the rock and roll and Elvis and black artists. In fact, rock and roll was started by black artists. Go look it up. By black artists. in the in fact, rock and roll was actually a black slang term meant for sexual activity. So black people started, Chuck Berry and those guys started rock and roll. Then you had the 60s, which you started to get more of the again, that 60s sound that was speaking to the era. I mean, you had so much going on. You had the protest, you had the Vietnam War, you had also the introduction. I know it started in the 40s and 50s, but really came to prominence the electric guitar in the 60s. So again, and then you get into the 70s, you have that funk area and started to be defined. You got into the 80s when you had, again, the more 80s rock era again, but you have the fusion technology, beat machines and sound synthesizers and things like that define the era. Plus you also had the introduction of, now again, you had videos since the 60s, but when MTV and other local channels started taking off, when you started to have rap, videos and that whole era of videos that came out that defined the generation. So a 60s sound when you hear it, a 70s sound you hear it, an 80s sound, a 90s sound. You had the New Jack Swing element to it, and you had the formation of grunge music certainly in that time. Also in the 80s, you also had, again, dance music. Right, so you had the disco music of the 70s, but then you had the popular rock dance music in the 80s. You also had house music defined from Chicago in the mid to late 80s and into the 90s. So you had that going on as well. So up to like the 90s. Now, some would argue the 2000s. I'm not sure about that. Show me a specific, what does a 2000 sound like? What does a 2010 sound like? What does a 2020 sound like? I don't know, because for the most part, most of the songs that I hear today are always sampled. Now, again, rap sampled, right? James Brown is probably the most sampled rap artist of all time, right? Because of those early sounds, and everybody was using James Brown samples in the rap music early on. So again, even rap music, you can't say they're not guilty of sampling. But now it's like anything I hear today is either a remake of something else that happened in the past, or or at least the sample is coming from something in the past. I don't know what a 2020 sound is, and we're midway through the decade, and I still can't tell anything of the last 20 years. Something that's like, yep, that's from 2008.
I want to back up a little
what
bit here
have you.
for 1 second. So you spoke about rock was a originary from a black music. Am I correct saying that?
Rock and roll music.
Yeah.
Well, quite frankly, you can make an argument that African Americans are responsible for all American music. Because even your country, that goes back to a lot of that blues, those spirituals from back in the day. So again, a lot of that music, country music, you could say it has it. Jazz was created by black people, African Americans. We talked about the rock music, the rock and roll music. So you can make an argument that a lot of the major what's called American music is really started by black people. So yeah, I would I would certainly, stand firm on that.
So the reason I'm going to bring this up is you have Elvis Presley. Hate him or love him, that's a whole different conversation. Let's be honest here. That's a different conversation. But what I will say is people hated him at first. If you think back, what's up, North? People hated him at first because he's saying, oh, he's stealing black people's music, like you said. I'm not going to argue that as a Greek American. 100%. You're on point on that. You got your history.
I wouldn't say people hated him at first. I think people loved. I think he was a phenomenon at first. I think that's the deep.
I thought people hated him at first. I might be wrong.
No. Well,
I'm too young to remember him.
There's two types of people at that time. When you talk about in the 50s, he was the hottest thing going. But the people who he offended, and I want to talk about this a little bit later also, are the conservative sort of people. Like this is like bad music is bad for the kids. He's on stage, he's shaking his tail on in front of kids and women and whatnot. I mean, people looked at him as being indecent, And so you certainly had a large swath of again, this is the 50s now. So you still have a large swath of Americans who are saying with rock and roll and with a lot of this music that it's ungodly and that it is corrupting, it's a corrupting influence on society. Even though Elvis got all of his music came from the black church and from black artists. The problem was in that day, a lot of black artists couldn't get major contracts or play. So a lot of the white artists would sample the music and be the face of black artists, but they never got recognition. I think it came out later on that, he got his music from these artists, and people started to finally speak up and say, this is where he got it from. But I think he was even, and I don't know if you've seen his the Elvis movie that came out in 2019, which I thought was actually pretty good. I think it pays homage to his roots.
He's on my list, actually.
Yeah, but it pays homage to his roots, growing up in a black community, going into a black Pentecostal church where he got a lot of his moves and a lot of his stuff from was from those revival meetings in black churches, his dance moves and whatnot. And he knew all those guys. He knew B.B. King. He knew Little Richard. He would hang out at the places where those folks would hang out. So he was very much entrenched in black music. But again, as far as him, Colonel Parker, and all those folks, they understood that, look, America's not ready to have black artists get credit for this stuff. So yeah, we're gonna take and we're gonna make the money off the music there. But he was loved. Now he was almost, according to the film, and I looked it up later, he was almost censored. The reason why he went into the army was essentially to kind of lay low for a while, because his image was such that people were so outraged by his music that he actually had to go into the military for a while and kind of lay low. And then when he came back, he wasn't the shaking type of guy he was early on in those concerts and everything. So he got into his karate stuff, and that's another story, whether or not he was a legit martial artist or not. That's a whole other conversation. But you can look up some YouTube video on his martial arts and judge for yourself whether or not he was legit or not. But that being said, but no, he was very popular, certainly with young people. And again, that changing dynamic, even with black people, I think he was pretty popular. The stuff as far as him copying black music, I think that came out later. I mean, Public Enemy had the famous line in Fight the Power, Elvis was a hero to most, but he never meant ish to me, straight up, So that whole line from Public Enemy. So I think later, I think some of the hate came, but early on, he was the hottest thing going in music, and I don't think they knew what to do with him. But before we go on, I just want to give a shout out certainly to the True North Beer Company. Thank you as always for coming in and certainly showing us support tonight. Yes, definitely smash the like button. Certainly as you come in tonight, but all the commentary going in, yes, talking about as far as Elvis, as far as James Brown. In fact, the Guinness Book of World Record for the most sampled ever. Again, Robert Johnson certainly was an early contributor to the certainly to Elvis and his music. So again, a lot of these guys, Rolling Stone, Jimi Hendrix, it's like without him, there'd be no Rolling Stone. Quincy Jones, Elvis knew Quincy, right? So that's the thing too, as far as some of the guys coming back and says some of Elvis' biggest hits came from Little Muddy Waters, Little Richard, and Big Mama Thornton. Yeah, he knew and hung out with those folks. So if you ever hear Little Richard talk, he'll tell you himself. He has no problem talking about all the people. Jimi Hendrix, I formed Jimi Hendrix. I formed Elvis. I formed all these people. Little Richard was never shy about talking about all the people he was responsible for. But again, a lot of people didn't accept him because, again, the makeup and he's very flamboyant at the time. And, so a lot of people didn't want to give him the credit for the artist that he launched. But certainly he was also instrumental in that time also. But he never said, I never won a Grammy. so
one thing I do want to touch base really fast before we get to our next subject into it, as top rock songs or metal, whatever you want to call it, one of the top artists is Seven Dust. Seven Dust lead singer is
I have no idea. I'm not.
No, I'm not. He's a black man.
Right.
Yeah. His name. Actually, I'm gonna look it up right now because I keep forgetting his fucking name. Where is it? Dust. Here we go. A rock band. His name is, where is the members? Here you are. Logan Wilsparm. That's a weird name. But anyway, he's one of the lead singers of one of the most popular heavy metal bands out right now. Seven Dust is literally up there.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
My point is trying to get to music doesn't care what color you are. End of the day. I think that's our gray area tonight. Can we agree on that tonight, Paul?
Well, it's as far look, good music is good music. I will give you that. I think where the argument comes in, as we were talking about Elvis earlier, is about credits, because obviously we are talking about IPs here, right? Mm-hmm. So who gets the credit for the music that is being created? And I think that's where I think a lot of contention is, because you're talking about legacy, you're talking about generational wealth. I mean, Elvis had Graceland and all of that stuff that he was known for. Now, again, Colonel Parker robbed him blind, but be that as it may, that's a lot of wealth that did not go necessarily through the people who created the music. And I think in that vein, I think that's really where the contention is, and I think that's where a lot of the argument is. Good music, I think Eminem is one of the top MCs of all. He's on my, I would say this, Eminem is probably on my Mount Rushmore of MCs ever.
I'm not arguing there.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, so I'm not mad at or looking at what he looks like per se. You know, the guy's got skills, and he's, you know, the creativity and whatnot. He can ball. You know what I mean? But I think who gets the credit, I think, is really where the contention is. And then also, again, with today's artists, there's so much sampling of what's going on. Again, what's the new sound? If there is going to be another sound, like imagine going back to the 1920s when the Lindsay came out, or the Walt, or the Charleston. And people were like, wow, what is this? We never heard this before. And people were going to the clubs and learning this new dance and doing all these things. You know, what is the new what is the new thing inspiring people today? The only thing that I know that, and this is just from my kids, that I can say that there was like a music or an art form that kind of emerged. And this was like in the late 20 aughts into the early 2010s. And since I'm in New Jersey, there's a genre of music called the Jersey Club, right? So it's kind of like a mix. It's a dance with a beat, and a certain way of doing things that was pretty popular. It's still kind of, I was just asking my daughter about it not too long ago. It's still fairly popular, but it's not. It's kind of regional. Like if you're in New York, or you're in another part of the country and they're playing Jersey Club, you may not be familiar with it, but it was certainly something that kind of sprang out of local dance clubs in New Jersey. And you can watch a lot of Jersey Club videos and whatnot. Certainly they became also popular with YouTube. A lot of that came out. But again, as far as a distinction that says, wow, this is new. And I don't know if you can, because what's the new instrument, right? I mean, before you had your acoustic instruments. Then you had your electric instruments. Now you have electronic instruments. So what is the next evolution in music? What new sound? Because again, when we're hearing these things, when I heard The Message for the first time, I'm asking, how do they even make that sound? I mean, it's something that when it reverberated in your ear, you couldn't you're like, man, what is that? You know, where'd they get that from? And so that to me is where I think the music is going to level off, unless someone comes up with a new sound of some kind that is distinct, but yet resonates with us. I don't know if there are. I mean, music in and of itself has a limitation, right? If you read sheet music, right, you have your A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever. You have your chords that are fixed. I don't think they're trying to add any more chords to music than what it is. I mean, Lost, or if anybody in the chat who's very familiar with sheet music, from what I understand, sheet music is basically the same as it's been for hundreds of years since they started composing music. B flat and D minus and all those ranges. I don't think they're trying to necessarily add anything to the catalog. So you know then that music has to be defined within those ranges. And if that be the case, then maybe the question is, has music met its run in terms of anything that's new, any new sounds, any new well, can it be, well, again, shout out to What We Know podcast being here. Music is organic and spontaneous, but again, music operates within at least the way we define it. Now, again, if somebody defines something else, music is defined within a set of chords and ranges. So now, again, you can play with the combinations there, and there might be millions of combinations there. But has all of that been exhausted? Because, as was said earlier, I don't know if I've heard any kind of new or some sort of music. And forget the songs, because the songs themselves, I mean, they're not talking about anything, in my humble opinion. Now, my kids may argue with me. They'll say, like, Meek Mill or somebody like that might be saying, have something positive to say today or whatever. I mean, we can argue that. I'm talking about the music. Forget the lyrics, forget the song, forget the singer. I'm saying, has music reached the limit in terms of the art form? You have blues, you have jazz, you have rock, you have classical, you have fill in the blank there. Is there anything else that we can expect within our lifetimes that's just going to like totally revolutionize the music? So there's no new notes, pitch, timing, or chords, right? So you're going to be limited by that range. So again, how much can we expect? How much can we expect it to change? Loss is saying that AI is creating music now, but it still has notes, right? So again, there's going to be a limit to what AI can create. AI has to play within the rules, unless they break the rules and go somewhere else. But where does it go?
I'm going to push back a little on that one, because don't forget, a lot of the digital music is coming out now. Like, what is that called? Techno stuff. If you think about it, techno is all digital music. So the AI can create a lot of different things. Like, if you just give them a parameter, like, okay, I need something, digital, techie, hip hop, whatever. You just give them a couple words, and they will create the whole fucking thing for you guys, very easily.
But it's still digital music. In other words, it's not so much. And digital can go in a lot of different places, but it's not unrecognizable. Again, the beat machines, you have tempos that you have, 2 beats, 4 beats, whatever that is. You're still going to operate. Now, you can be creative, but you're not creating a new genre of music. And I guess that's really what I'm getting at. What is the new genre that people will look at 40 years from now and say, oh man, I remember when that came out? I don't know if there is. And like I said, these days, the fact that you have so many musicians now collaborating. Again, you got country artists collaborating with rappers, collaborating with rock or symphony or whatever it is. So it's almost like we've kind of reached our rope here. So let's just combine and try to maybe make some fusion, but have the foundations of music. Are they set? And can we expect to have something that is new and exciting and something that has people's attention? I don't know. I'm postulating right now.
I actually want to highlight TJ's last comment. Techno is 40 years old. I did not know that. All the way down, the last one. Actually, that threw me off completely. Thank you for educating me tonight. I'll be straight up. I didn't know it was 40 years old. I thought it was like more like 20.
No, like I said, with the invention in the 80s, again, the 80s was 40 years ago. So with the 80s, with the electronic beat machines and the digital instrumentation,
Mr. Robotic,
the digital keyboards and all of those things. Again, nobody heard that prior to that. And so again, what you're able to do with a sound wave and go up and down with, I mean, it's just,
this is a great example. I know it's from a movie, but this gives you a great example. Back in the Future, remember when he's playing? I think it's an Elvis song. I'm not sure with the electric guitar. in the dance, and everybody looked at him like, that's different sound. And like that, they were like, oh, this is weird. Oh, we like it, but it's different. When something new comes out, is people are like, oh, this is weird, but they always grow to like it at some point.
Mm.
Same thing with okay, I'll use Evolution of Rock. Rock evolved into metal. Metal evolved to heavy metal, and heavy metal evolved into death metal. Death metal is very hardcore. It's only very unique people who like that. I'll give you that.
Mm-hmm.
But it evolved. Yeah. That's where I'm going with.
Yeah, they all have. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to swing back where we're talking about Eminem is one of the best artists. Even BMU said it. The only person who gives him, he tries to go head to head is one person, and he always fucking fails. And I can't stand that person, a rapper. You know who I'm talking about?
No, go ahead.
Machine Kelly.
I haven't listened to a lot of the stuff, so I can't speak to the.
I don't listen on this.
Have they had a one-on-one? Have they had a rap battle?
They both put out songs. Diss
tracks, okay, but they haven't gone head to head. Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly, anybody goes head to head Eminem, good luck.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of disappointed that we don't have like the battles didn't become more popular. Like it seemed like a lot of those battles happened in the street. What's that?
In early 2000s, they were very popular actually on MTV and all that stuff. I remember watching.
But like I don't recall Eminem in a, like I said, I remember in his on his come up. Obviously, he did a lot of rap battles, local radio stations and whatnot. But I'm talking about a staged event, like a live. Here you gonna put 50,000 people in a stadium, and it's going to be Eminem versus pick your rapper, and they're going to go at it, and basically
that's like great
I'm saying to that level, I never saw the rap battle get really past like what's in the street. It's almost like it's a street form, but they never made it mainstream.
Time out. BMU, please, let's get our lawyers together. We're going to get this, officialized and copyrighted. Obviously, I am a co-host. I get 50%. Paul gets 40. You get 10%. Very simple. I think it's a fair number.
I don't think that, but they wouldn't go for it though. It's like LeBron. It's like LeBron James not participating in the dunk.
Eminem might. He has some balls on that. No, when it comes to money, he will probably do something like that. That's just fuck him up.
2 men enter, 1 man leaves. Yes, exactly. And that your reputation and everything. But again, I think it's when you're on the come up, you take risks. But it's like anything else in life. Once you become established, you don't want to take those risks anymore because you don't have to. So why would Eminem risk his? Now again, it's not going to change his bag, his money, or whatever. But again, he's got a legacy established. Would he even risk getting up there with again? You talk about this guy Blind Fury. Let's just say if he did come up there against Blind Fury, would that, what still Eminem would certainly take that a certain way. And I think, especially comparatively, he's up here. Why would you, from his mindset, he may say, look, why would I come down to your level? And I think a lot of guys are like that. Just like LeBron with the slam dunk contest, he thought he was too good for it, or he didn't want to risk.
But you got to give Eminem credit on one thing. Eminem, like when he fucking discovered 50 Cent, he actually helped him build an empire too. Because 50 Cent learned from what's his fucking name? His partner, a business partner. I can't remember his name right now. The other rapper. Help me out, Paul. You know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't. Like I said, past 93, 94, my rap knowledge and encyclopedia knowledge falls off dramatically. So I can't. And then even to this day, most of my rap is 80s, and I have 3 sets of 80s. I got 80 to 82, which is again that's coming out of the Sugar Hill Gang, disco era. Then you got like the 83
Dr.
to
Drew.
86. Okay, so
that
you
was
got 83 to 86,
and
and then you got like 87 to 90. And that's where you had the conscious rap, you had the gangster rap, you had some of the new wave rap, and then again from the 90s onward, you had a lot of the new swing kind of stuff or whatever. Diggable Planets, remember that? We Be the Chocolate raps and my raps, and just a lot of those folks from that era. But again, after that, it just kind of plummets.
You look at Eric's last comment. Come on, dude, you're fucked up.
He doesn't like Eminem. What can I tell you? You know, he's not a fan. Not everybody is,
Listen,
but
I'm not a fan of all his music. I'll be the first one to admit that. But there are a couple songs like, oh, all right, dude has some bars. I'm gonna give him credit. But my point was, one thing I do like about Eminem, when he took 50 Cent onto his wing, he helped him build an empire also.
Yeah.
And 50 Cent, he owes everything to Eminem end of the day. But I want to swing back to something else now. Let's switch gears for a second here.
Mm-hmm.
The evolution of how we listen to music in a minute here, because that changed a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
Like vinyl,
for sure.
Vinyl, yeah. I like one thing I think is fun about vinyl. It comes and goes. It comes and goes. It comes and goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think certainly for a lot of, if you're now again, I'm not the biggest audiophile in the world. I know some people who swear that, you know, there's nothing. See, we had cassettes, we had 8-track, we had CDs, and now we have digital. There are people who swear that the vinyl track, especially them old records, I don't even know if they make vinyl records the same way, because I know they're selling them again out of demand for people who want the vinyl. I don't even know if they're even making them the same way they did back then. But for some reason, people swear that the vinyl track picks up the smoke, the cigarette smoke in the room which the artists were recording in. So that's how some people, they're so married to vinyl that, you know, the hissing that at the beginning or whatnot is something that they say, like this, when the CD came out, they said the music sounded too clean. You know, there's a dirtiness to the vinyl that a lot of people, if you grew up with that, you never stopped it. Now, me, I like a clear crystal sound. So even if whether it be a CD format, DVD, or digital, I tend to prefer that more, because I just like hearing just the pureness of the sound. The noise on a vinyl track, sometimes if I'm really into something, that can be a distraction. But that's me, and I know I don't speak for everyone on that. But yeah, but some people, vinyl, they still got their vinyl collections to this day. They still got the record player, and I'm actually kind of glad, certainly for that group of people, that people started. Because I remember even in the bookstores, like Barnes and Noble and whatnot, they started having sections. They always had like a music section. Borders, Books and Music, when they were open, they definitely had a music section. And I was happy to see when they started selling vinyl records again, and to appease that particular audience that misses those. But again, are they made the same way? Again, anybody who's bought something,
actually, I just looked it up.
Something that's different, you let me know. But I don't know if they're made the same way as before.
I just looked up the vinyl. I typed in, is vinyl made the same way as in the past? And yes, it's still made exact same way. Nothing has changed the way they produce vinyl.
We talked about that earlier.
But then then after vinyl, it was 8-tracks, if I'm not mistaken, right? You remember those probably.
The what?
8-tracks.
Was it vaguely? Obviously, I was too young. I was too young to buy them or whatnot. But when I came of age, definitely the cassette, was certainly replaced the 8-track, not only in cars or whatnot, but what you listen to. The Walkman, when the Walkman came out, obviously, I don't think there was an 8-track Walkman. Okay, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was just too big. You would have been carrying around a very heavy device. But when the Walkman came out and the cassette tape, I think that really changed some things, that people could start to take their music with you. I think prior to that, I think that it was, you listen to music in a space. So again, you had your big, I don't know if you guys grew up with, you had the big record player with the speakers and the TV in it. That was like that huge console that you used to have. So people would actually have to sit down and listen to their music, or do you listen to it on the radio, or you had the 8-track, or with the cassette. But when the Walkman came out, I think that really changed a lot of things.
So 8-track was a Walkman, but this fucker was humongous. It was like a fucking a little backpack thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was huge.
Yeah. It was like remember the video recorders back in the day? It's like this big giant thing that sat on your shoulder.
Smaller than that, I would say probably like a small woman's purse you're carrying with you with weight. And I can't imagine trying that fucker. Dude, imagine how much batteries you had to fucking use to just get the thing going.
Yeah.
That's one thing I hate about Walkmans. You're in a song, you're bopping your head, you're going down and ding. And you're like, what the hell's going on?
Well,
my fucking batteries are dead again.
Yeah.
I used to carry 2 sets of batteries for that fucking reason.
Oh yeah, and that was around the same time when rechargeable batteries started coming out. That was also in the 80s. Now again, they don't last as long as the Energizer or the whatever Rayovac or whatever you used back then, but around that same time, renewable batteries, because again, you had the demand. You had those pocket. I'm really aging myself now. You had those Mattel. You had those Mattel pocket games, the pocket football game, and the baseball game, and the basketball game. You had those. You had Walkman. So definitely, people were getting there. And then you had a lot of the games, a lot of the toys and whatnot, where batteries not included became a thing. So again, the need for batteries started to go up. So in the 80s, you started seeing those renewables with a lot more trash early on because they wouldn't last more than an hour. But nevertheless, people started to say, hey, our waste dumps are getting filled with these batteries, so we need to do something. So they came out with the renewables. But even then, I don't think after 40-something years, I don't think renewable batteries have reached the sort of mass that they expected, because I still see the regular alkaline battery still being sold as the majority of batteries. Very few people still, after 40 years, have the renewables caught on to replace anything that Energizer or Everready or Duracell's ever come out with. But that's another, that's a tangent though.
Yeah. So we went from 8-tracks, well, you remember very well, obviously, to cassette. I hated cassettes. And I hated when they fucking
put out the. I was just getting out of the stroller when the 8-track was.
The funny thing, I remember my grandmother and my mom having around. And it was like, I remember the cassette you used to put out this cassette player, and it was like fucking a foot long because they ate it on you.
Mm-hmm.
I used to get mad at that. But then we had CDs. Everybody, oh my God, it was evolutionary.
It was, yeah.
It was. Till my favorite new invention was MP3s.
Mm-hmm.
But people thought, MP3 was, Apple made the best MP3 player. That was actually wrong. It was the most popular one. The most popular was actually the best one made was Sony's, actually, believe it or not.
Sony's, yeah.
Because they had a built-in radio in it. So if you want to switch from, okay, are you bored where you have downloading on that, and go, you hit a switch and you now go to FM/XM. I'm XM. I'm FM and AM.
AM, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I fucking.
Well, plus Apple, they had their own catalog. I mean, back then they were so proprietary with everything. If you didn't buy music through your Apple store, whatever iMusic library that they had, it wasn't like it was backward compatible. So you could have had like a whole library of MP3s, but it didn't necessarily mean that now you can upload them to Apple, but anything that you bought from Apple, you couldn't necessarily download to another player. So they definitely tried to monopolize that a little bit for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's a combination, I would think. But Apple did have the popular one. I'll give you that. It was a cool one, like same thing with iPhones. It's cool. But Sony had a better one. And there are other ones cheaper too. You didn't have to go with Sony expensive. I think Samsung made one too at one point, and some other companies.
I still to this day, one thing with the Apple ones, I mean, it was so small. They had the one that was a little like a clip. So let's say if you were an athlete, like you wanted to go running, like they literally had the MP3, get the mini was so small, you just clip it on you, and when you went running or whatever, I thought that was brilliant. Because again, imagine back in the 80s trying to run with a Walkman. I mean,
the shuffle. I'm sorry, not the mini, the shuffle.
Yeah. So you're right, So, but it was like a clippable, so you would clip it on you or whatever. It was very light. It didn't kind of weigh you down, but I couldn't imagine in the early 80s. You running with a Walkman, even just the running up and down. I'm sure your cassette would skip a beat here or there, just trying to use that thing. But Apple certainly.
I guess Eric hates MP3s too. I assume.
Yeah. He's a creature of the past. We're gonna tell. All right, I saw his comment earlier. He said third base is better than him. Now I like third base. Third base, those guys, MC Search and those guys. They had some. They had a small run in the early 90s. The Cactus album. I still have that, actually, the Cactus album. So I'm not hating on those guys. But again, they were kind of like a flash in the pan at the time, and I certainly believe that certainly part of being successful is longevity, and certainly no one's had greater longevity than Eminem. Especially as far as white artists anyway. certainly. But yeah, but Third Base, I mean, they had some, Gas Face and all those tracks. They had some, but even again, a lot of their music was backed up by black artists. I mean, a lot of the beats, a lot of samples and whatnot. The guys who they rap with, came out of the, with, they certainly embraced or had a lot of those guys around. So, but again, they were enjoyable for the time. But
yeah, I'm not gonna argue. I 100% agree with you with that one. So okay, after MP3, we haven't, MP3. I don't count MP4s as evolution because it's only with MP4s as videos. So then from MP3s, we started technically using MP3s in a way, but in a digital version of it.
Mm-hmm.
The digital version had changed so much. But what I think the digital version changed a lot too is the DJ world. I didn't realize that too much till last night. Like my boy had 3 laptops going. He has mixing tables, but they're like vinyls, but they're digital. Well, if it's digital now, I'm like, oh. I
do want to get What We Know podcast, because I know he's done some DJing in the past. So I would certainly like to get his. I would certainly like to get his commentary on back in the day when you had your scratching, because again, you had to, for those vinyls, you actually risk damaging the vinyl when you scratched it. And sometimes you would have to replace those vinyl tracks with it. But again, that was a skill in and of itself. You used to, if you watch the old videos, guys would scratch, spin, and behind the back doing their scratches and whatnot. Now you got the digital that's kind of doing a lot of that. So again, has DJing in his view. All right, so I'm gonna drop the link, and I want certainly What We Know podcast. If he wants to join the conversation, I want to bring him up. And we can chop this up a little bit, because I want to get his 2 cents on what he thinks DJing is. Forget not just the music industry, but where does he think DJing is at this point in time? So I just dropped the link in the chat. So again, this is for What We Know podcast. If you want to come up and be a part of the conversation, come on up and give you 2 cents on that. Is it basically automated?
I would say DJ has changed over the years completely. Because DJ now is like that alone can make you some serious money. Look at Paulie D, who's from the Jersey Shore. He's making a killing. That's from DJing in Vegas.
Yeah,
I was Jersey Shore posted him a little oomph on that. But my boy,
I'm wondering now, will DJ, everyone's talking about AI, right? So what if AI essentially, because if you're gonna define DJing as basically taking music and mixing it at certain times, at certain points or whatever, if you get an AI engine that can essentially do that, then what does that do to the DJ? If you could just tell AI, look, we're gonna have a party and it's gonna be a classic 90s, 2000s rap era or whatever, what then, and just make the list or whatever. And if you're going to leave it to AI, then what do you think that would do to DJing at that point if AI can get good at it? So again, that's a question, certainly be asked. But again, What We Know podcast, JT, the link is in the chat. So it says Apple's already doing that. So look, so where does this leave DJing? So are Paulie D's numbers as a DJ, will his price go down at some point? I think people, obviously, people want to see celebrities, so I think he can lean on his Paulie D from the Jersey Shore at least for a minute anyway, and I think he'll be fine. But again, if you're someone on the come up and you want to pursue a career there, is this one of those things that AI is eventually going to phase out at some particular time? Blackman, David.
Also, because a lot of DJs
wow.
have a good following. I never realized that. And then I'm talking to my boy, he was, I got a good following, bro. Anywhere I DJ, these guys follow where I DJ.
Yeah.
And I did not know that. Obviously, they have to pay for all their equipment themselves, their speakers, their turning, their laptops, all that stuff. And before, you have to own the music at one point. Remember that? When they actually had to buy records, OCDs, and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now you can digitally download the music for pennies on a dollar. Because you had to invest money. I'm saying, going back in the day, Yeah, them records were like $6, $8, $10 a record. And again, you had to buy multiple copies because again, you would have to you would wear them down. That needle would wear your albums down and whatnot, so you would have to replace them at certain points. So yeah, there was a cost. But now music is essentially free. And so that's not there anymore. But we got our guy. Let's bring him up to the stage. So we got JT from What We Know Podcast, also broadcasting on the BMU network. Man, it's been a while since I've seen you. First of all, how are you? How's the fam? What's going on with you?
I can't hear you guys yet. Hold on.
Let
me go out and come back in.
All right, you sound good, but we can hear you. But come back in. Come back in.
But what I was gonna say is, okay, yeah. First you had records, yeah, you wore them down. Then the CDs, excuse me, the CDs. Then you burned your own CDs, so you didn't even have to pay for your own music at one point. Then you digitally, but now I realize my boy likes doing everything from YouTube. He gets a Premiere package and he's literally scratching off YouTube. I'm like, that is such a smart fucking idea. Actually, for $10 a month, he gets unlimited songs, any song he wants.
Yeah. So I mean, So my thing is also if the cost of DJ, because like I said, anything we're doing, I don't care if you're a mechanic or whatever, you have to buy your tools, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times you were defined as a mechanic or an artist or anything based on the tools, and not everybody could get in because of the cost of the tools to get in. The cost of entry, it meant something. But now you have it where you have unlimited music, to your point. And again, you have the machines doing things digitally, the physicality that it took to find something at the right time and tenor. Now you can actually program machines to do that, and now you have the risk of AI and whether or not they can essentially replace what is there. So again, you know, these are things that
I just looked up how much you need to just start a DJ equipment. It says here you can the basic, very basic, is about $300, and as you upgrade your equipment, you need to be over on the low end 1,000 and more. It says that there you go. And like equipment alone is expensive. I know he was using like,
but $300. That's not. I mean, look, you would pay that. I mean, again, a quality. If you're talking about techniques and Kenwood and those, you would spend thousands of dollars. If you wanted the best DJing equipment, the cost of the albums and whatnot. So again, even to say that equipment's $300, that's a drop in a bucket today versus what it was back in the 80s. You would spend $300 in the 80s, which if you adjusted $300 for today's money, I could run a calculator. You probably talk about at least $1,000 in today's money. So it's definitely a much easier entry, if you want to call it that. It says now they have the virtual tape. You don't even need real records anymore. But again, back then it was a physically demanding skill, and people came to see you because of your skill. It was almost like you needed athletic skill to be able to scratch, turn from the turntable to turn around and do it behind your back, to do it with your head, with your ear, with your foot. People paid money to see guys do that level of physicality. Now you don't have to do that anymore. So I think the value of a DJ, I mean, the guys that BME was citing, again, I don't know if that end of the road is going. I mean, he's made his money over time, but for a lot of guys, is this going to go? The dinosaurs had a period of time where they were the most dominant species on Earth too. Now they're gone.
Well, I saw my boy DJ last night, bro, and he was sweating his ass off. He was like literally moving like crazy to get everything going.
But doing what? With what though? What did he have?
He had two digital turntables, the knobs or whatever. I don't know what the equipment is called, so I'm gonna butcher whatever I'm calling it. Two laptops, but he was moving. Like also, he was trying to help the crowd up too. So he's not just sitting there just DJing. He was like in the mic and doing things too. All right. Our our own DJs on the air now.
Yes, sir. Hey, you good now?
Yeah, I'm good. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Loud and clear.
First of all, how are you, man? I haven't seen your ass in a while.
Man, it's been a minute, man. Yeah.
Sounding good as always. Velvety as always.
Yeah, man. I've been in and out of town.
So we're talking about music throughout the years. But now we kind of went into this genre of DJing, and I know that certainly you have been obviously a DJ in the past and whatnot. So I know I'm sure you go back to the vinyl record days and whatnot. So where do you think it is today with the digital tools people have now, with the AI that is forming? And yes, even BMU talked about all these guys, Paulie D and all these guys making all this money. Is that sooner than later going to become a thing of the past? And what do you think DJing is now, just based on your experience with it?
Okay, so I started DJing at about 96. So I started out as a vinyl DJ. So when it came down to getting vinyl and things like that, the easiest way during that time was to register for a record pool, because records were, like you were saying, they were very expensive. When you're talking about trying to get a collection, that was one of the hardest things about DJing, was that you had to get your collection of music up. And a lot of music, if it was before that time, you have to go and you actually have to be like in the ranks of other DJs. Yeah. So one of the things that I found out was that we always needed at least 2 or 3 of the same vinyl. So that was why the record pool started being a big thing. And a lot of times it was just record companies that were promoting other records before they come out or while they were out, and they call them white labels. And so they give them all to the DJs. And it was for, a fee about $20 a month, $25 a month, something like that. And every week they would send you records. That's just how it goes. That was how they started dealing with the DJs, because they found out that it was very expensive to try to get albums, and only thing you want is that's that one record. And then on top of that, if you were a DJ that actually started doing the craft of blending, beat bouncing, beat juggling, scratching, and all these things. So now what you have to do is pretty much you would have to put your records in a certain order, and you have to practice. Yeah. You just have to practice, and you have to know your music.
We're talking about practice.
Right. So roundabout.
Whoa. You weren't born knowing this skill? I thought you could come out of the mom's womb and you know how to like. That's my best skill. Okay, I don't know more than that.
No, but you do. It is a natural thing if you understand music, because the number one thing in being a DJ is to know your music and know your crowd. You have to know those two. You have to understand what blending is actually about. You have to actually understand how to count, 4 counts, 8 counts, things like that. It's a lot of skills that you have to develop on top of, especially during the time I was DJing, where you were there was no hype man. You was the DJ did it all.
Yeah. Yep.
But there were certain things that DJs couldn't do that they can do now. So around about 2003 was when it started to change from vinyl to MP3, putting everything on a hard drive, external hard drive. So that's when, about 2005 was when I started changing from being a vinyl DJ to being a digital DJ. So this is when you start having Traktor and Serato and, all these different softwares that you have to use in order to do the things that you want to do. So it changed DJing, and actually for the greater. I'm gonna tell you, I got tired I used to have footlockers of records. On top of that, I got these big old directional speakers that I have to take, amps.
Yeah, I'm saying going to a gig. If you didn't have a big car or truck or something like that, just getting your equipment from one place to the other.
Cargo van.
Yeah, so
van, right?
So yeah, well, when I first started out, I didn't. I had a sports car. So imagine how that happened.
280Z Datsun 280Z.
I had that the Mitsubishi. What was it? The
Eclipse.
The Eclipse. Yeah, I had the Eclipse Turbo.
Oh, you're a fuck, bro. You're a fuck.
No, but my seats went down. So that was the thing. The seats in the back went down. It was a hatchback, you know, so I worked it out and then after that, I ended up getting trucks and, you know, and station wagon type SUVs and stuff like that. But it was a lot to carry. It was a whole lot to carry. And so when it started changing, I seen how easy it was. I'm like, man, this is crazy, because the things that we used to have to mark our vinyl with, because we want to get that, you know, that sweet spot right there, or break beats or whatever it is that we wanted to do, it took a lot. So to practice, a lot of times before you can even get into the practicing of DJing, you got to prepare all of your vinyls. You have to, you have to know, like what we used to do is we used to put the BPMs on the label where the labels were. And so then you would have to take that and you have to put them in different categories. And then on top of that, you have to get, if it's R&B or rap or, no, I didn't hear what you said.
I'm sorry to cut you off. BPM is what? I'm not familiar with that.
Beats per minute.
Beats per minute.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
So it was a lot that goes into it. So now when you see DJs that still use vinyl and things like that, it is rare. It's a rare type of skill that you end up picking up, because now you just have people just jumping out here and they want to be a DJ. So they get them a little, controller, $200, $150, get them some music. And normally what they end up doing is before, even when they get into a DJ pool, because now everything is MP3, MP4 and things like that, they still have to get with someone that actually has a lot of music, another DJ, right? So what they end up doing is they will pay you to take your music off of your X drive and put it on theirs. So that can go anywhere from $200 to $1,000, depending on what collection that DJ has. Mm-hmm. So every day we always, especially when you just active, you always download new music and new music and new music and new music. Now, when you see it, this AI thing, it's not going to knock it out, because you have people that actually understand the art of DJing. It's kind of like playing a guitar, playing drums. It's a skill. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't want to get. So it only thing it did was it separated the types of DJs that you have, right? You got DJs that actually deals with vinyl still. Mm-hmm. Now, what we ended up doing, like I used to use I still do. I got Serato, and I have this software named Traktor. Mm-hmm. Traktor is really good for techno music. It's really good when you want to do something on the fly. Like if you wanted to remix a song or something like that, and you can do it on the fly, that's when you use stuff like Traktor and stuff like that, because you can use like 100 tracks. It's like you can have 15, 16 turntables. You're just mixing stuff off and on. And now everything is just pushing buttons now. Mm-hmm. It's not where you got someone that's actually using vinyl. Now, with Traktor and with Serato, what they ended up doing was, so you could still have that authentication. What they ended up doing was being able to get your turntables. You got some 12s. You got, whatever turntables that you use. Normally, it's going to either be Techniques, or it's going to be something like Denon has turntables, and I don't remember the other one. I can't remember it right now. Mm-hmm. But you use a certain vinyl. Mm-hmm. It's a certain vinyl, and then you have this. It's a box that you have and this was in the early 2000s, where basically that was your controllers. Mm-hmm. So you can cut and scratch and all of that stuff off of there, but you have to have the vinyl, and you have to have the box that actually jives with the software. Yeah. Now, what they have is they're not even turntables now. So Serato had this thing, they look like turntables.
Yeah.
And then you got the mixer that has everything on it. So even though you got the turntables or you have the jog wheel or whatever it is, you don't even have to use that anymore. Everything is punching in stuff now.
Right. I was saying that earlier. It's like the physicality that DJs had to do, especially in the vinyl era, that you had to do. Because again, you're also talking about imperfect equipment. Again, the record player may skip, the needle may not be perfect, but you make it so seamless. Like you may catch stuff that the audience that's listening in the room or whatever, they don't see.
Yeah.
But there's certain things that you had to catch. And now it's like everything is almost so perfect now. That you can get it so fine tuned. So again, that's what I'm saying. I know you said that there's skills that are still involved, but still there seems to be a diminishing of what is required, and also like we said earlier, the cost of entry. Because again, back in the 80s, again a Techniques or Denon, like you said, that was $300-400. If you want the quality stuff, 80s prices $300-400 for DJ level. This isn't you going into your Sam Goody or whatever and buying. This isn't commercial. This is like commercial grade equipment that you're buying, not the the equipment sold in your PC Richard or whatever the chain that you buy your equipment from. So this is like specialized equipment that you're getting.
Yeah.
So the cost of entry is such now where even though again $1,000 today compared to that, it's nothing.
So my needles were $300.
The needles themselves.
The needles themselves were $300. The stylus that goes on the needles, those were, if you had to change those out, those were anywhere from $80 to $100 to change those out.
Yeah.
So and most people during that time, like Banana, the Banana cartridge was really big, big old long. Scratching it's made for scratching and things like that. So those things was $200-300, bro. And still to this day, if you go get that, even with the techniques probably are more now than they were back then. So if you get you some ones and twos, unless you get them on Marketplace or someone that you're gonna be still spending a lot of money on that.
Right.
So
right.
But what we looking at now is not so much as the skill of DJing, is more of your celebrity, how known you are, right? So because look at how many females that you see, they're DJing, but it's not really DJing how we were DJing.
Correct.
Like a lot of that stuff is pre-done.
Yep.
A lot of it is, they will sit there and they will make it look like that they're doing it. But I'm telling you right now, when you see them,
now who actually sings live at a concert these days? It's all dubbed in the background. They're just lip syncing the music. It's like it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same thing. So if you're talking about the gig and trying to make money DJing, it's not lucrative anymore.
Yeah.
It used to be very lucrative. Now it's not so much because you got playlists that you can do now. You got pre-done mixes that people be doing it now. So it's a whole different way.
That was DJing last night. He told me the only way he can make money, he needs to do a lot of weddings, and the clubs, the bars don't really make money as much. He still does it because they pay him pretty decent, but the weddings where all the money is.
That's where all the money is. And but the thing about weddings is that, again, when people book DJs, they book DJs like a year out. So you have to, by the time they leave, you get 6 months in, you have to see if they actually are serious. So you got to get all your money before then, because that was a gig that you could have got. And a lot of people, they will just, if you ain't got no money on there, if they don't have no deposit or anything, non-refundable deposit, they'd ask you and put somebody else in your spot. And that's not a good thing for us as DJs. So we get contracts and things like that. And you have to be a lot more professional with weddings and stuff like that, because you want somebody to refer you,
Yeah, for sure.
That's basically what it is.
Right. Now, one thing that in fact, I don't think I've ever asked a DJ this question, but in your view, what is the primary job of a DJ? And the reason I'm asking is because, again, we've been to weddings recently, and people hiring out and stuff, but I just don't see the impact of a DJ like in getting the crowd to move.
Mm-hmm.
I see fewer people just dancing. I've been spending time in the South just on work, related stuff. And I'm like, y'all got any clubs around here? Like, no one's dancing anymore. At least not to the degree that, there's music, we play music from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. As soon as start playing, it's like invariable. Like, we can't help ourselves. We be in the store, supermarket line or whatever. They play that over the intercom, whatever. We just start dancing. It's just a natural thing. I'm just saying people don't dance.
You should have been at the bar last night. You would be.
I'd be happy to know that, but it just seems like there's a. So I'm like, what is the role of a?
I have an idea. I'm gonna play one of his videos for you guys. I'll turn the music off so we don't get striked.
Okay.
I'm trying to find. Keep going until I find a good one.
Yeah. So what's your like? So what is the role? Is the DJ's job is to get everybody on the dance floor? Is it to set mood? Was that something that you go over with the host of the event saying I want this? But I'm like, if I'm hiring a DJ, if people aren't on the dance floor or getting their sweat on or whatever, then there's something wrong. It's like either you don't like the music that's being played or whatever, but I see, Sparta, you got your music. You want to play your video first, or you want to answer the question?
Yeah, either one is fine. Whatever you guys want to do.
All right, so answer the question. If you can answer that question first, and then we'll play his video.
So the DJ actually is the master of the ceremony. The DJ is the one to get everybody involved. That's why, and that's why it was very important for a DJ to be able to talk on the mic. So especially if you have weddings and things like that, the DJ, I did everything. I did the announcement to the bride and the groom. I did the whole thing when it's time for them to do the tossing of the bouquet and all these different things. Now, in a club setting, absolutely, the DJ is supposed to be getting everyone engaged. So normally, what happens is when you have the floor, because that's our adrenaline right there. It's kind of like being in a concert. If you don't have everyone, if you don't command that attention on the dance floor and have everybody that's on there, then it's a dud. It's a dud. It's boring. And the only thing they just paid you to do was to actually be a jukebox. Yeah. So most DJs' attitude used to be, because it's not like that, because again, like you said, people are not dancing. They're not engaging with one another on the dance floor like they used to. Now, if you're talking about technos, if you talk about house parties, like the house music and stuff like that, oh man, those are the easiest parties to do.
Yeah, because you're going there with that purpose to dance. You don't go to a house jam just to sit there. You know what I mean? You expect to move, or that's a crowd that's for that. But I'm just talking just your wedding or whatever, or your club or something. You just want the place popping. You're gonna be playing a variety of music, old school, some new school, mixing that together and whatnot. It's like, oh, you got this going on. We gotta, it's like you trying to back in the days, you be like you be sweating, right? I gotta get off, right? I'm going off the dance floor, and then you drop something else. I grab my girl, I'll be like, oh, sorry, we can't leave yet.
That's a successful gig. That's how we looked at it. It was always a successful gig. Like when I started, we already know you start out slow. You start out playing music that people enjoy. But once you get to a point where you're at the meat of the ceremony, you should have everybody on that dance floor doing some of the things that they normally won't do in their regular life. You should have people having fun, making a fool of themselves. Because what happens is that when people are enjoying themselves, they won't. And I don't take requests. I'll tell them in a minute. I don't take requests because you're going to mess up my party if I take requests. Now, when you have people, they're asking who you are. They're asking, can they hire you? Because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get more gigs. So the number one thing is to show people who you actually are. And that's why you will have DJs when they have their little tags. They will tell you who exactly they are every 15 minutes. You will always know who that DJ is. You will know because when you playing, you getting people engaged, man. Like you just said, they be like, man, that DJ tore it up. Who was that guy? Right? Yeah. That was how I got my gigs. Most of my gigs came from that. I did a gig. Next thing you know, I started messing around when I came back to Michigan. I ended up being in the radio crowd, and I started having referrals. You know, the real big DJs, they would come after me, and until it got to a point where I had the gigs where I was the actual, you know, the master DJ and things like that. But that's the number one thing, keeping people engaged. Now I have no idea. That's kind of what made me fall back from DJing freelancing, because it got real slow, and then the ones that I did get, it wasn't engaged, and I didn't know what to do to make them engaged. The way that they listen to music is different now.
And to Vaughn's point here, not only dance, slow dancing is definitely out.
Yeah. So I'm one of those DJs. I get everybody all the way up there, and then I had the key was, how do you keep them on the dance floor when you slow it down, right? Mm-hmm. You have to play music that people all can just be like, oh man. So it was a lot of DJs that didn't know how to do it. Even with my ear, like if I'm just at an event and I'm hearing DJs playing and they doing it, I can tell you exactly where they messing up at. Cause I'm like, oh no, don't play that song. He played the song. Or they trying to scratch I'm like, if you're not good at scratching, please don't do it. Yeah. Leave it alone. Yeah. Concentrate on, you know, blending, meshing, you know, things like that. There's nothing wrong with you, you know, pre-recording some of your mixes, because I get exhausted, man, sometimes just one after the next, because you get in the zone and you forget you ain't ate. You haven't drank no water.
Yeah.
You know, you just in the zone.
Dehydrated because you sweating it out and yeah.
I agree. Like one thing I will say different about your DJing style versus my boy's DJ style, he was getting requests all night. I'm like, to the point, like, you're gonna work tonight. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, people are telling me to tell him shit. I'm like, I can eat a drink, not a fucking be a fucking worker. You have my screen really fast. Paul?
Yep, I got you. You.
So obviously, you see people dancing. People are still doing dancing.
See, them the ones who always see the ones that they're in front of they're usually in front. Not everyone's there. The ones who are in front of the speakers are usually ones. But that's that dancing crowd. You're going to be there. I'm talking about a DJ being able to affect. You don't even feel like dancing, and you put that track on. It's like, oh, we gotta, you know,
I'm telling you, people would first. You know, when I first got there, it was like he was just getting warmed up. And then I go on, like everybody, even in the back, like I was at the DJ booth, so like I had my safe zone, so I was like, I was there, I'm good, because there were some piranhas out there.
Yeah.
So, but I'm telling you, everybody was dancing. I'm not saying that's how everybody, but like even
I've never did a gig for a white crowd and they never partied. That's where all my money when I was DJ, all I had to do was have everything top 40 and hip hop. Mm-hmm. I've never had a gig where I had it where it was majority white folks and the gig was a bomb. I never bombed with white folks. It's just a point where they understand what it is. They understand what the mission is. And when I come there, I'm like, oh man, I'm about to see, because I don't know my crowd yet, right? So that's the first thing I go to is top 40. You know, and then I go to EMD music, you know, and stuff like that. And then I go into hip hop. Then I do mashups, because I end up, you know, at home. That's my favorite thing to do, is to make remixes and mashups and stuff like that. And then I play that what I recorded. And I've never had that problem with the white crowd. Never.
Yeah. I want to get back to what Vaughn saying. We talked about the slow dancing, but what do you think is going on? I don't know, maybe societally there, but again, babies were born to these slow. Like you be on there, and you be like, you know, you it's like towards the end of the night or whatever. You go in, you just do what you did or whatever. But that idea of slow dancing with your lady, I mean, just that it's like we talked about kissing, right? People don't kiss anymore. People aren't. What happened to that? You know. Especially if it's your lady, then you can do anything you want. I mean, I'm not saying do like dance hall grinding stuff. I'm just saying, but it's like literally you're making love on the dance floor. And again, I remember DJs used to know how to get that mood right, but now it's like you don't see that hardly as a part. You would have your slow, fast songs or whatever, sweat stuff. Okay, now we go into this, and you know them jams that they be playing towards the end of the party. Usually they play what Frankie Beverly and Maze at the end of the party before the party's winding down when you put that on, right? But I'm like, what do you think was going on with that, where people just the slow dance, romantic dancing, just romance in general, seems to be not where it was back in the day. What's your thoughts on
that? Has died off completely, I think.
No, it definitely did. I think around about 2012 was where it was. They don't listen to it. Again, you have new people, new adults, right? And they don't have this whole thing of hypergamous music. That's not what they do. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh, that's me. That's not what they listen to anymore. So the thing is that because me and your generation, Mr. Bennett, we shared music with our, they shared their music with us, the generation before us, right? So we listened to what they were playing, but we ended up loving it too. Mm-hmm. And so that stuck with us because, we talk about stuff before we were born. We know the words to them. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it was just the way that we listened to music. And then our music and our generation came, but it wasn't as loving. Mm-hmm. It didn't have the words where the man was like some, LTD. They didn't have those type of songs anymore. They didn't have the songs where I love you, or I see you and I want to talk to you. Can we dance type of music? It was kind of more of I can freak you.
Yeah.
How can I freak you? And still there was slow songs that was there, but it was slowly diverting into just nothing but fast music that was very crass and raunchy. And it started to kill it. This was even in the 90s where, think about in the 90s what the slow music was. H-Town, Jodeci, 112. You had Tyrese, Tank. You had, you still had New Edition.
Yeah, like Take 6 After 7. Were those 80s or 90s guys?
Those are the 80s. Oh, so 80s. When you had Take 6, Babyface, After 7, all of that was still, I love you. I want to do everything for you. You had, right. But then you had
and Tony. That was also.
I was about to say Tony is. These guys are these were more of late 80s, early 90s. Mm-hmm. Because Anniversary was in the 90s. Yeah. Right. That whole album is a no skip album, bro. You know what I'm saying? So we still had it there, but look what we have now. You have to actually, in order for you, because if you look at who's running the R&B stuff now, it's females, SZA, Queen, whatever her name is. And when you hear the message in the music, it's "you hurt me," basically, and I don't need you. Mm-hmm. And I see you with your other girl type of thing. So it's not, the men are not running that anymore. It's the women. And we already know that in that music, it's their grievances.
Yeah.
It's not so much of I love you. Mm. It's kind of like, I don't need you, or I can have you for the weekend.
Well, at least it's the genre now. Because back in you had I Will Survive. That goes back to the disco days and whatnot. And that was the women's anthem for a while. And then No Romance Without Finance. That came, gotta have a J.O.B. So you've had songs kind of interspersed in that time that became these women anthems. All right, that comes on. It's like, oh, like you looking at me like I did something to you. And I've been mad at you for 20 years, and you looking at me like, what did I do?
But we was fighting it with we were fighting it with the Gerald Leverts and the Keith Sweats. We was fighting it with the even when you had remember Stacey Lattisaw.
Yeah. Oh.
Her and Johnny Gill, where do we go from here? And, some other things that they had. It was more, people were still, it was kind of like the music, in my opinion, the music actually was championing women and men getting back together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you hear the 70s, that was the best. That was the best, the music, the love songs and things like that, because men were very hypergamous in their songs then. You listen to the OJs, man, and we talk about OJs used to be from the 50s. But in the 70s, the mighty OJs, even when you had someone like Jeffrey Osborne was the 70s, but he was also 80s. But when you heard when he was with LTD, but when you go in the 60s, where you have the Dells, you have Hail Melvin and the Blue Notes.
Stylistic.
Oh man, Teddy Pendergrass. You had so many that was in these songs that these men were saying was they helped other men be able to either make up with a woman or try to get a woman and stuff like that. It was kind of like that type of, it's like a soundtrack.
A different generation back then. They cared about the music. They cared about people dancing. They care about getting freaking on the dance floor and like, all this stuff. Now it's more like dry humping over there. That's it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was the 90s that actually, when you actually listen to the songs that were there, that was more of how it gradually went through from the 90s to the 2000s. By the time you got in 2015, there was very few. The music that was love songs, wasn't nobody buying that music. And then the way that we listen to music has changed. Mm-hmm. Once you start streaming music, that's it. It's a wrap. Yeah. It's a wrap. So now you got people that listen to folks that don't know who they are. And it's funny because remember, if you think about it, in the early 1900s, there was times where you didn't even know who was singing. Mm. It's like that now. They don't even know who's singing, and they have the information where they can find out who it is, but they choose not to. They just like the song and they move on. They don't buy the album. Like when we used to buy albums and tapes and CDs, we actually read the credits. Yeah. We actually, and then you also had the magazines that was there too, which correlated with that also. Yeah. So it made a lot more sense for us to say, who wrote that song, right? Mm-hmm. Did you know that such and such didn't even write that song? It was this guy that wrote the song and stuff like that. So we cared about the music a lot more because we cared more than just the melody of the music.
And that's what it was. People cared. Now is more like you care about the artist. Like I still care about the artists I listen to, like Five Finger or John Bon Jovi or whatever the case is. Mm-hmm. If I tell you, kids I work with, young kids from high school, they go, "Oh, cool song." I'm like, "Yeah, it's Bon Jovi." Who's Bon Jovi? I'm like, "What?" When Ozzy died, half the staff didn't know who Ozzy Osbourne was. Mm-hmm. I'm like, they don't care about the name anymore.
Yeah. So, I would just listen to some Bon Jovi, man. So that was another thing about our generation. We listened to all of it. Living on a prayer, man. That goes. Well,
like I
said,
I mean, the '80s with MTV. I mean, that was as mainstream as it got. So, and they, and again, initially they didn't start out that way. Michael Jackson was the first to get on in. Then after that, the floodgates opened and Run DMC and all those other artists came through. But initially, they were. Yeah. What's that?
They loved the music back then.
Yeah, but again, but MTV initially they did not let black artists on. That was a big thing.
I don't remember that.
Go look up an interview. You actually have David Bowie calls the head of MTV out talking about
think about MTV now. MTV doesn't even do music anymore.
Yeah.
So
I think
the
whole thing.
The face of MTV used to be Mad Max. So it was, and then you had MTV Europe, and so you had those were different too because MTV Europe. They ended up doing Yo MTV Raps also, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at it, if you just look that up, Michael Jackson actually was that artist where it was just like, wait, y'all gonna just use me because y'all like it was kind of crazy to him, even though he got it on MTV, he didn't like that. And so you had a lot of people like, again, David Bowie. It was somebody else it was a lot of people, man. It was a real big thing. It was a huge thing.
For sure. We're coming to near the end of the show. I did want to Black Man. He did ask a question early. He wanted you to again. You may have more knowledge about this than I do because I honestly I don't. I haven't followed a lot of Lil Jon, but he says he's the greatest on the mic ever on the 1 and 2s. Your opinion on that? Again, I can't speak to it, but if you have any input on that one.
Yeah, I can agree. I don't know about greatest, but he up there with some of the great. Lil Jon actually was, and a lot of people don't know this. Lil Jon knows music so well, where like now he does pop in EMD, right? He first started out with the whole thing with the crunk club stuff. He was that first person that did it, but it wasn't because that's all he knew. This man was a great DJ. Him and now T-Pain also. So T-Pain was a great DJ also. Most of these folks that you probably never know that these guys were DJs, which means that they also are producers also. So they were really big on music. Little John is like, he's one of the greats. I gotta give it to him on that one. Yeah, no doubt about it. He's one of the greats. And if you look at the music that he's playing right now, you be like, that Lil John? Yeah, it's Lil John. He's more E&D. Yeah.
I hear you. I hate to be the hard stopper here, but we want to be respectful because also we want to make sure that the shorts go out and everything. But this has been a great conversation. There was another area that I want to go into. We may need to part 2 to this because I definitely want to talk about the.
As I was just saying, I was also thinking maybe TJ, you can join us next time also if that's cool with you. Yeah. And I'll bring Frank on here too, so maybe you guys can like battle a different style of DJing a little bit and
battle
like,
yeah. So, but any final word? And again, thank you for being part of the conversation tonight. Any JT, anything you want to plug? Anything that you're up to? But again, it's good seeing you again.
Oh, absolutely, man. That's my passion, bro. Is music. I love being able to talk about it. I had no idea that I was this passionate, but until I get to talking to folks about it. So, great conversation, brothers. Yeah, absolutely. Just let me know when you coming up with a part 2, and I definitely come up here.
You to come on because we need an interview for your military.
Oh yeah. We haven't done a military interview in a while.
I'm gonna come at you. I'm gonna start shooting fire at you.
Bro, I'm don't do that, man. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. We can set up a date, man. And most definitely I would love to do that, bro.
Absolutely. I just want to get one more shout out to our guy Vaughn. All these guys with these melodious voices. You got Vaughn, you got JT, you got Lost. All these guys should all have their own radio shows and but I want to get a shout out to him too because it's been a minute since I've seen him. Man. It's always great when he has a part of conversation. But we're going to close this show out. So again, Sparta, any last minute before we close out the show?
Actually, I want to ask one last question, JT. Are you DJing right now, or are you now? Maybe this is kind of flush your feathers to get you back into the game.
No, I'm just doing it like I started out as a hobby. That's where I'm doing it at now. I'm starting to get into going back into producing soundtracks and stuff like that also. So it's basically going to be at my house, man. I'm setting my studio back up, and I'm never going. I hung up my turntables when it comes down to being active out there. They can have it. I'd rather do it for the people. And when I do go live, I'm gonna let you guys know. I'm gonna start doing it on Discord and start DJing, and not just DJing, but I want to be able to talk about different stations that we've been in when it comes down to music and different places that we've been. So I love to be able to have that type of conversation.
I hear this from you because if you love something like I love being on the camera and talking about this stuff like that, make it reality. Anybody can do anything they love. The only last thing I got for you is email me a couple of dates are free on Sunday so we can get your ass up here. That's all I need.
Okay. I got you. And because you guys already emailed me. So I definitely got that, man. And I have your IG also. So absolutely.
Good. All right. So for myself, Mr. Bennett, for Sparta, for JT, What We Know Podcast, this is the great area. You guys take care. God bless. We'll see you next time. Good night.